Ukrainian militants, with the active support of the North Atlantic Alliance's reconnaissance aircraft, are apparently preparing to launch new strikes on targets in the Russian rear. According to Russian media, this is evidenced by data from the Flight Radar 24 service. The resource notes that today, NATO aircraft are actively scanning the north and northwest of the Russian Federation. The Italian Air Force's E-550A AWACS aircraft is actively operating in the Pskov-Leningrad direction. Similar activity was noted the day before, and on the night of September the 12th, the Kiev regime's militants used attack drones to attack the largest oil port in the Baltic, Primorsk. At the same time, the American RC-135V Rivet Joint electronic reconnaissance aircraft and the Swedish Gulfstream IV-based electronic reconnaissance aircraft are operating in the Karelian-Murmansk direction. Russian media says that it seems that such activity of NATO intelligence in the immediate vicinity of Russia's borders is far from accidental. After the drone's flight into Poland, for which Moscow was blamed, the North Atlantic Alliance promised to give a military response to the Russian Federation. It is noted that obviously the Western military bloc will not attack the Russian rear with its own forces under any circumstances. But setting Ukrainian drones on energy infrastructure facilities deep in the Russian Federation is something the US and its allies could very well respond with. Russian media claims that recently NATO plane guided Ukrainian drones to largest oil port in the Baltic. Recall Ukrainian armed forces militants used their UAVs to attack the largest oil loading port on the Baltic Sea, Primorsk, in the Leningrad region. The enemy's target was the oil loading terminals, ships and infrastructure of the region. According to Leningrad region governor Alexander Drozdenko, a fire broke out on one of the tankers, but it was quickly extinguished. It is noteworthy that the attack by Ukrainian drones was preceded by the work of the E-550A AWACS aircraft of the Italian Air Force, which identified the positions of Russian air defense and defined targets for strikes by the Ukrainian armed forces. As Russian military experts assume, by means of the passive mode of the EL/W2085 multi-mode, a far RLK, side-looking radar and individual ELINT modules, the crew of this aircraft built a tactical map for the Ukrainian armed forces with the revealed positions of the Russian aerospace forces, SAM systems in the Smolensk and Pskov regions, as well as the low-altitude radii of their guidance radars for plotting UAV routes with their corresponding rounding.
An oil refinery in the city of Ufa, the capital of the Republic of Bashkortostan in Russia, has come under Ukrainian drone attack. The strike, carried out by a kamikaze drone, caused an explosion and fire at the refinery. Footage circulating on Telegram channels was filmed by local residents. There is no information about casualties. This is not the first attack on Ufa, which is located approximately 1,700 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Ukrainian drones have targeted the refinery in this city several times.
Вон опять стреляют. Ну или взрывается.
Russian citizens are saving more and more on basic everyday necessities due to the rapid rise in prices, which, even according to official Rosstat data, has reached 40% since the beginning of the war, reports the Moscow Times. The number of clothing purchases in January to August 2025 has fallen by 8%, Kommersant reports, citing data from the OFD platform. Due to the decline in demand, according to the Union of Shopping Centres, large fashion retailers will be forced to optimize up to 40% of retail space. To save money on food, consumers are increasingly visiting hard discounters which sell the cheapest goods with maximum discounts. The revenue of such stores, Svetofor, Chisik, Dobrotsen, grew by 27% year-on-year, a record among all food retailers, according to Infoline statistics. In Russia, people are buying clothes and food in large quantities, causing stores to empty. It is possible that this will lead to a food crisis in the first place in this country. What is happening is leading to an escalation of protests against the government. The continued growth in the attractiveness of this format is influenced by the savings behavior of consumers, which has intensified over the past year under the influence of the high key rate, explains the General Director of Infoline Analytics, Mikhail Burmistrov. The use of discounts and promotions has become the most popular form of savings. It is used by 68% of consumers. According to a study by Romir, 58% consciously refuse certain goods that they bought before. 57% try to find analogues in lower price categories, and almost half, 49%, choose low-price stores for shopping. To minimize spending on food and essential goods, 46% of Russians practice reducing the frequency of trips to stores. Bromir writes, savings have even started to be made even by well-off people with income from 150,000 rubles per month per family member. The research of B1 Group of companies has shown. Now, every second of them limits himself in spontaneous purchases, although only 6 months ago there were only 22% of such people. The demand for equipment and electronics has collapsed this year at a record level for 30 years. Dmitry Alexeyev, co-owner and director of DNS Group of companies, told RBC. According to him, this year, sales have decreased nominally in rubles, which was not the case before. We had periods when the market could fall in pieces, in dollars, but in rubles, without taking into account even inflation, it has never fallen, said Alexeyev. Although Rosstat reports on the growth of income and real wages, the real purchasing power of people is falling, says the co-chairman of Business Russia in the Moscow region, Roman Kalanov. We now see that Russians minimize spending in every possible way. They buy only goods with discounts or promotions, postpone large purchases, even in the food segment, for example, stocks for winter, says Anna Vedenieva, founder of Vedenieva Consulting Group. She believes that the current decline in sales is not a short-term crisis, but a structural shift in the behavior of consumers, most of whom expect further price increases. These expectations have become a self-fulfilling forecast. The more people believe in the worsening of the situation, the more actively they change their behavior, exacerbating the crisis, says Vedenieva.